So here we have our finished skirt with our placket in it. I'm going to move that off the table a moment whilst we put in our lovely finished bodice. We don't want to pin anything at all to the white. The white is not going to be pinned, that's stitched by the machine. It's going to be hand stitched all the way along. So the white we will leave, okay? And then we're going to pin this, and this is the chocolate mark I was telling you about, so we'll have to sort that out. We're going to pin this all the way around onto our bodice. Now what we need to do is make sure that this is the outside of my skirt, okay? There. So I'm putting it so that the outside is facing down. This is the outside of my bodice. Again, I'm putting that so that is facing up, and then we're going to put it onto there so that when you turn your skirt over, that will be right sides to right sides, okay? So just once again, that one is on the bottom facing up, and this one is going to come in facing down. So take your placket, and your placket is going to go, and it's going to join on with this piece here, alright? So you want it to sit exactly one on top of the other, just like that, and pop a pin in it, and the pin's just there. Sorry. And pop a pin into that, okay? Right, and I have done some gathering, but whether it'll be enough remains to be seen. The other one is going to go in that side, so then what we're going to do now, I'm just going to measure it along to see if there's enough gathering. If not, I might have to do a little bit more, because it has to go all the way around and fit into that piece there. With the other one, on the skirt, on the bottom, I did way too much and I had to pick some of it. Yeah, I just need to do a tiny bit more gathering here on this piece here, so I just pull that one out, those two ends, and just gather it slightly a little bit further along. Okay, I'll just come back once I've got that where I need that to be. Alright, so I've got it all gathered to the right size now. Just going to come in now, join up that placket with the back of the dress, so it's sitting exact like that. Can you see that? So that's my placket. Oh, it's not very good, is it? That's my placket there, and it's sitting exactly where the back of the dress is. Okay, just like that. There. Right, and then we're just going to come all the way around and pin this all the way around, making sure that gather is quite even all the way. There we go. You want both pieces to touch the top, so that you've got that piece touching the top and that piece is touching the top. Just come around and pin that. Shouldn't take too long to do this one. It's not like when we pinned the bottom, that took forever. Okay, now you can open your seam here if you like. I like to open mine up. Pin on either side, one on that side and one on that side, and just keep going. There we go. Get that nicely pinned. And when we stitch this, we need to make sure that the gathered side is on the top, okay? Because it's much harder to get that laying straight if you put it on the bottom. A few more pins, that's the front of the bodice done. back of the bodice. Okay, now I'm going to open up that seam there, just like that, catch that and pull that inside. Okay, one, somebody at the door. Okay, and I'll just come around. As you can hear, somebody's just come. That's Phil, our mate. and my husband, they do gardening together and they really enjoy their gardening. At the back there, so they'll be going off to do that. Right, and then I've got a piece here, look, where the gatherings come out, so I'm just going to quickly take that to the machine and just gather that last little bit so that fits into there, and then I'll pin it on, and then I'm going to just stitch all the way around that there. Okay, so now we're all ready to put these pieces on. They're all pinned beautifully. So what I want to do is make sure that I've got my ruffle on the top. I don't want to sew it onto the so I'm sewing it the other way. If you put the ruffle on the top, you're less likely to get a tuck. Okay, so get that on, but we want to make sure that white is right out of the way. We don't want to sew any of the white onto it at all. Seems to have just got, that's better. There we go. So I'm going to pop that on, put that out of the way, and we're going to catch it right there on that placket. Sorry, I just knocked the camera, didn't I? Okay, and then we're just going to come in and we're going to take our time on this one going around, because there's a lot of bits and pieces here. Okay, just going to press that down with my fingers. Oh, don't get to your back stitch, sorry. That's it, and then go all the way around. That's keeping this on that 3/8. On mine, you just see a tiny bit of fabric on the side. Obviously, everybody's machine is slightly different and everybody's foot is different. This one is a generic foot. I do have actual singer, the feet which are actually for the singer, but I really like this one because you can see inside a little better. So I use this one a lot. The ones which tend to be enclosed a bit more, you can't sort of see exactly what you're doing. So if you sort of find, I know as well that if I do it really close up to that line so that the edge of it is sitting on this line, that's one particular size, that's almost 1/4 of an inch. So you sort of get to know your own foot and you get to know your own machine, and you know what finicky bits your machine does and has. So just coming in around now. There we go. There's that. Just keep making sure that lays flat underneath. Whoops, I think a pin's come out here. It has. And then there's another pin that's come out here. I can see it's just fallen out onto the floor table. There we go. Put that back in. Right. And this will now have all the actual little dress sitting nicely together. Okay, that's still coming nice, sitting nicely. Push it up a tiny bit. Don't want to get a tuck in there. Nearly there. We're halfway around that skirt. Got a few buttons to put in and a few buttonholes to go in, and then I think it will almost be finished. So this will be the underskirt. I've just been on and ordered the most gorgeous fabric to do for next month's one. I've seen something I quite like. I'm going to have a go at it, just to play around with it. It's a blue fabric with butterflies on it, but the butterflies themselves are all rainbow colours. Very, very pretty. And it was on special offer at the moment, so it's 100% cotton, and it was only £5 a metre, so I'm really pleased about that. So I went straight on and ordered it. I've not ordered from there before, so I'm hoping everything will be okay, because you've always got that worry, haven't you? I think it was about £3 something as well to have it delivered, so I'm thinking of something really pretty which I can do with that. And then the last little bit here, and then we'll do our back stitch. There we go, and that is that finished. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is put in our buttonholes. So I will come back and do that in a minute. That's that piece done. We've got it all stitched onto the skirt there. It's all sitting nicely. Been around and I've checked that there aren't any tucks or anything, and everything's sat beautifully there. So now we're going to come in and we're going to do this piece. We can just, where we've got that fold, we can just fold it over the whole thing, the whole way along. Push that little piece up there like that, and then you can just come in and you can just hand stitch this all the way along. So I'm just sat here, I've got a video uploading onto the channel here. It's almost done, and I've got, I'm going to put something on the TV to watch. I'm just going to start off, I'm just going to sit here in bed and finish off this dress. You know, we turned it up 1/4 of an inch, so it probably needs about 1/2 an inch rather than 1/4 of an inch, but that's okay because you've got that nice neat line to stitch along. And what we're going to do is we are going to stitch in to that bottom of those stitches there, so just under those stitches. So I've got a knot in the end of my cotton. I'm just going to push it in through there, and I'm going to come along and we're just going to do some tiny little stitches. I've done it in the yellow because I don't want any of the stitches to show at all. So I'm just going to go in and out through the fabric like that, catching that side, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to catch a little bit of this fabric on this side, and I'm going to push my needle along a little bit, just like that. Pull it out. Got a very small needle here today, and then move on to the next bit. And I'm sorry if it's a bit wobbly. Obviously I'm not at the table, so that should be okay. It should be alright with any luck. I'm just going to carry on doing that, but I won't do any talking because this is going to go on for a while, so I'll just keep videoing it until I get to the end, and then I'll talk again, and when I get to the end to finish it all off. I might need to stop in the middle and put a knot in it, but I will do that. So you can either sit with me and do this, or you can just turn off the video or fast forward through the video until we get to the next talking bit. So I'm not going to talk for a while now, it's a bit boring. If you do get like that and you notice that your thread is caught, it just means that it's caught. Just divide your thread up a little like that and just pull it, okay? And make sure that stays nice and loose there. We don't want to tighten that up at all as we're going along. So just coming in that side like that, through the fabric there, in through the white fabric, down through the middle and in again to the next piece. There we go, and that goes out the way, and then just keep going all the way along. Okay, so I've been all the way along to the end now, and I'm just going to tie a knot. And that's looking really nice and neat. So we're not going to have any raw edges showing on this at all. Just going to pop a little knot into here. Hold everything in place. So I'm just going to pop it in there. And what I'm going to do is put a knot in there. One, and I always like to do two. And another one like that, and that. Okay, pull that one out, get that in there, and then I'm going to take the end of the needle. I'm going to put the needle and I'm going to push it right up inside that white piece, like that, and push it out of there. And then I'm going to pull that little knot up through, so you won't actually get to see any of it at all. So we'll just pull that up there, and that's gone up inside, and that's sat in there nicely. And then I'll just trim that off. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is just to go around the whole thing with my quick unpick and my scissors, and just take off any long ends, pick up any bits of stitches which might be around here. I think there's some on the sleeves, and unpick any stitches which are showing. Okay, so I shall go around and do all of that, and then we will come back and put our buttons on. So here is our little dress. It's almost finished. I'm just going to put in the buttons and the buttonholes. So I just went out and I chose some pretty buttons. These are the ones I've chose. I'm going to put them 5mm from the top. Yeah, 5mm from the top, which is 1/2 centimetre, which is about 1/4 inch. Okay, so just come in here. Now I've got a gauge. This is a gauge, and it just tells you where to pop your buttonhole lines in and mark it all up. So I'm coming in from this first one, and I'm just going to come in from the top and put it here. So my first one is going to be here. Okay, and then I'm going to come in then, I'm going to put that down out the way, so that will come in like that. I'm going to put that on there, and then I'm going to put the rest of my buttonholes in at every 2 inches, like that. Okay, I'll just do that last one. Do we need a, yes, I think I do need another one, and it's just going to come just down to there. So I'm going to pop it in there on the placket. Okay, so I've got 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buttons, and here they are. Okay, so I'm going to go now to the sewing machine. We'll put on our buttonhole foot, and we'll make our buttonholes, and then we will make up our sew our buttons on. So this is the button I chose. I don't know if you can see, it's got a lovely little, try and put it there under the light. Can you see it's got a rose on it? I thought that looked really pretty, but it won't stay in my buttonhole. I'll show you what happened when I put it in before. It might stay in this time. I had a real job getting it to go in. Let's have a look. Oh, it's gone in this time. Is it going to stay in? Oh, it might do. Oh wow, fantastic. What I did, if you've got a button which won't go in, the other one which I had a point on it on the other dress, and there was no way it was going to stay in because the point was in there. So I was going to pop it in, I was going to use this button which is the same size to do it, but we'll see what happens with this one. Okay, so mine just comes off like this. So if you've got one which has got one of these little feet on it, it's got like a metal bar there, and you can just slip that underneath your bar. Obviously don't get this one, this type of buttonhole thing, if yours doesn't attach to it. You need to get the one which is the same sort of style as your machine. Okay, so I'm going to change my setting to a buttonhole setting, and then I'm going to bring down my buttonhole foot, put it in behind where my buttonhole needs to go, right in there, okay, that's in there. And then I'm going to bring in my dress, lift that up, get that what's cotton out of the way, right, put the bottom cotton underneath and then try and get that other cotton just to sit out the way for a minute. And what you want to do is to bring it in, and then what I like to do on my first button is to line it up on the side here, okay, and then I'm going to pop it in so it's lined up with the side, and I find that if you can do that on your buttonholes, it does work really well. And then we're going to bring it in so it's just about to the edge of my button. Now this is how I do mine, okay? Every foot and machine is different, as you know, so this might not work on yours. What I would suggest you do is get some fabric, play around with the fabric and get the button hole to go in on the way which works for your machine, okay? So mine is in, I've got that, and I'm just going to hold on to this top piece of cotton for a second, and then I'll start us off. And basically you don't have to do anything really with this, just guide it, okay. That's again, something's not quite right with my machine again. Probably, there we go, let's have a look. But if you find that that happens, turn your machine off, turn that back on again. It might have been because that was caught underneath. Let's try again. So you're going to need to lift it, bring it back to the beginning, and bring it back to where you usually start from. And I sort of do it so that that's sort of lining up there, okay? Foot's down, that's down, that's down, that's down, the buttonhole foot is down. Right, let's try it again. That's it. Sorry, I forgot to flip back to buttonhole. So all you really need to do is keep your hand here and just help guide it so it doesn't move out too far. It should do its own thing. It's coming back down again. We'll back up the other side. And there we go, one buttonhole. Really simple with that foot, okay, you can see it's turned out really nicely. So I'm putting my buttonholes at every 2 inches, and as you can see, when I lined that one up, I like to just put it at the top of the dress, but it's come down, I like to line it up, that mark it up with the side of my foot. So when I bring it in and put it in here like this, like that, where that line is, I just like to have the top of it at the side there. So I don't know if you can see that, it's just there, okay? And I'm going to bring this in and I'm going to bring it like that, and that is touching just on the bottom there, so that I'm sort of trying to get them all to sort of be roughly the same distance and roughly the same going in the same place, okay? So we'll start again. Now, if whilst you were doing this, you found that your thread broke or something like that, just turn off the machine, just as I did, and then start it again and take it right back to the beginning and start again, because you won't be able to catch it back up. You'll never find the right place or anything. So unpick and then start again, okay? Fabric there, come through. Some of my red line right there. That's exactly where I want it. Bring this one up so it's touching there. And sort of, I can sort of see the very edge, and I know that my needle is going to go actually into the fabric to start me off, and that's just about where I need it to be. Okay. One. Now you might find that you need to put in more buttons. Obviously it's the size of the child. It will depend on what size the child which you're making it for is. Sorry, there's a bit of a lump there. There we go, there's the last one. It would be right on that lump, wouldn't it? Just lift that one so I can get it in right. That's it, that's better. Okay, yeah, so obviously you might have 6 buttons, and we're going to put a button in every 2 inches, so basically, you know, work out how long your piece is, and then work out how many you might need. You might have 6, you might have 8 for the bigger sizes, so just go with that. There we go, and that's all your lovely buttonholes all done. Okay, so I shall just go away now and stitch the buttons on, and then we'll come back and see what it looks like. So I had a tiny bit of a problem, where is when I got my buttonhole foot, and I'll show you. So when I got my buttonhole foot, when I went to put the button in, I don't know if you can see the button, it's got a point on it. I don't know if you can see that there, it's like a pointy bit on the top. When I went to put it in, it wouldn't actually fit in the buttonhole piece. Even though you can put it in and press it down, it just pops right out again. So what I thought, I had a bit of a think about it, and I went and got another button which was just a tiny bit, just a tiny bit bigger. Okay, so I would recommend probably don't get a button with a pointy bit on it like that, you know, because it's not going to fit in your buttonhole foot. So I got a button which was a tiny bit bigger, popped that in. Unfortunately I didn't have enough of those because I really like those, so I popped that in and I used that for the size of my buttonhole, and that's why that one's a little bit messy, because I had to play around with it a little bit, and I will tidy it up so that it would go through, and it does actually go through. Put it through this one, I'll show you that through that one there, so it just goes through easily, and that's why I've already done them, because I wanted to make sure that it did fit nicely. They will be tight to start off with, and they will get looser as you go along. So I'm going to take a pin, okay, and I'm going to pop it into the end of my buttonhole just before where those last stitches are, like that. And I'm just going to come in with my seam ripper, and I'm going to rip this piece. Go in like that. There we go. And then just push it right the way along. There we go. Okay. So that's your button homemade. Take your pin, bring it to this end. Put it in exactly the same as you did before. There we go. And then pop it and just loosen that end as well. Okay, and then come in, push it all the way through to the back, and just remove any loose white ends there. You don't want them coming through. So just go along. You don't want to cut into your stitches, and your stalk scissors would probably be better for this if you've got the little tiny scissors. Mine are in the bedroom. Working on an embroidery in the bedroom, so there we go. So come in and remove all those little bits of end, and then that will be your buttonhole finished. All right, just neaten it up a little bit. There you go. Okay, remove these ends. That's that one. There we go, that'll come out, and then the ones on the back. Right, so that's that one. Right, next one. Pin again. So I put in 5. You can put in as many as, obviously, as long as your dress is. If you've got the 8-year-old, you're going to need more buttons. Just work it out for how many buttons you will need for the size. And I'm putting them at every 2 inches, but you could put them at slightly different if you need to. I probably wouldn't buy those buttons again. They are really pretty, but I just sort of think that's probably not the best idea if you can't get it to fit into your button homemaker. Maybe you're right, probably for a cardigan made out of wool or something, where you don't have to put them through the machine. So push that all the way out around the back, remove any threads. That bit of thread there, bit of thread there, a couple of bits on the front, and I have gone round and I have removed most of my thread, but when I came in this morning I did see a couple more, so I will go round before we finish and remove those threads as well. Okay, as you can see there's a bit there. Oh, that's off that there. Okay, last one. This one was on the placket. So obviously if you can put them on the placket, that's not a problem if you need to, because obviously when you get the 8-year-old placket, your placket's going to be down here somewhere, so you might need a button to fasten that down there. I just wanted to finish off my end with it. So there was not one there. You could work it out so that you've got your buttons so that they actually, the last one fits there, but I wasn't worried about doing that. I was just going for this. Just come along. If you can't get that to work, what you can do is pop your little scissors in, give it a little, can't seem to just get mine in there a minute. It's coming from the other way. That's it. I might have to go and get my little scissors, let's see. These are too big to go in. Oh no, I got it. Sometimes it just won't play ball. There we go, just cut in between those two. And you have to be really careful when you're doing that with the scissors. Okay, then flip it over, cut off all those ends. You don't want to cut into any of that actual fabric where all that stitching. You just want to cut off those loose ends. threads. That's looking pretty good. Right, buttons. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do, so let's just give it all that. Lay it out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this exactly as I want it, and you can probably see the line of the interfacing there, and I want to join that line up with that line like that, put that over the top and pin it in there just like that, one like that, and then put the other one over the top and pin that one. Plug it in nicely just there. You can put a couple more pins in if you like. We're just going to mark off where our buttons are going to be, so I'm just going to put a couple more in just to make sure I get those marks in the right place. Right, okay, so take your pen, place it into the centre of your buttonhole and put your little line. Oh. Yeah, it's come out, so I broke my lead, I think. That's it. Coming out now.